the second goal then happened, which arguably is the best goal. Mariana Caldente, basically, she collected the ball from outside the box, took a touch out of her body, shot, top bins. I was like, this has got to be the goal of the campaign. Like, honestly, mental from her. So good. Oh my god, welcome back to another episode of the Arsenal Humans podcast. I hope you're good. I feel like if you're a Gooner, like obviously your gal here, it's been a roller coaster of a week, and that is all thanks to Arsenal, because whether you're looking at the men's game, the women's game, the Premier League, WSL, Champions League, whatever competition you're looking at, Arsenal are testing my emotions. Like, I feel like at the start of the week I was like, oh, amazing, what a time to be alive, so happy. And then after last night, the last two nights actually, to be fair, I'm like, what's going on? What is happening? So anyways, before I carry on, I don't even know what this intro is, but before I carry on with this, let's just get into the games, and you'll find out why, in case you don't know, why this has been such a mixed week for the club as a whole. But first, before we get into the actual games, I want to just look at the warm-up poll this week. Oh, I've got something in my eye. Okay, we're all good. Anyways, this week, it's a warm-up question, basically. I didn't actually do one last week, and I was trying to be different, trying to think of a different idea. So basically, in case you didn't know, I'm going to reveal this little part, but not what's happened in the game. But this week, guys, I actually can't stop smiling. Arsenal are through to the Women's Champions League final, and I can't believe it. I mean, obviously we went on the back foot in the first leg, so for me to be saying this right now, it just doesn't even feel real. Like, I'm still like, whoa, is this happening? Like, this is the first time in 18 years. I started supporting Arsenal properly when I was about 10 years old, and we last got through to the final when I was like 5 years old, I want to say, yeah, because it was 2007, or 4 or 5 years old. And that last time we got through to the final was when we won it. So that's the only time we've really experienced this. And I'm like, that's mad. So this is a very, very big deal. So no matter what happened at the end of the week, overall, I think it's been a very successful week as a Gooner, as an Arsenal fan, for Arsenal as a whole, because of this one game, because it is historical. Like, it is genuinely so historic. I feel like it brings a little bit of a tear to my eye. Like, I feel like I could get quite emotional about it. So yeah, if you see me at the pub on Saturday, mind your business, because I probably will be tearing up no matter the result. But anyways, because that happened, I was like, wow, this is historic. I don't actually think anyone saw us getting to this point. I feel like a lot of people sort of overlooked us, underestimated us, you name it. So I kind of was like, why are we here? Like, how did we get to this final? And don't get me wrong, this question is kind of impossible because it's so hard to just pick out a few individuals. But I kind of wanted to see for you guys what you were thinking as to why you think we're basically through to the final. So the question I asked anyways was, Arsenal wouldn't be in the UEFA Women's Champions League final without this player. And then obviously I left the little box. This is on Instagram, by the way, loose.case, in case you wanted to go and vote for next time in the next poll. Just looking for you the answers now. Obviously, a lot of people have said Rusa. I mean, she is now the highest ever English goal scorer in the Champions League, because she's got 7 out of her 10 appearances, which is mental. A few people have said DVD. Obviously, Daphne Van Domselaar didn't play in the first leg of the semi-final, and I feel like it showed, because we went on the back foot 2-1 down, and then suddenly the second one when she played, obviously there's loads of factors that contribute, but she definitely is a key one, so I definitely agree with that one as well. A few people said Emily Fox, you could see in the WSL last night. Yeah, I do feel like that's important. Obviously, I'm just focusing on the Champions League right now, but it's definitely key to see where she fits into that squad. She's been a great signing for us the last couple of seasons. Mariana Caldente, I feel like this player, all these names, because like Mariana Caldente, I mean, I'll get into it in a bit, but the goal she scored, unreal. Like, I feel like it could have been the goal of the campaign so far, or one of them at least. I feel like there's been so many good ones from different teams. But she honestly is unreal. Like, the way she operates on the ball, she's got the technicality, but also the power, the physicality. She's everything you want in a midfielder. But I'm gonna have to rule out all of these ones. Obviously, I agree and think it's not down to just one player, but I do think that we are in the final because of our skipper, Kim Little. Like, I feel like this player, she's overlooked a lot. I think people don't recognise what she does both on and off the ball, and how her experience, her physicality, just her presence on the pitch, you can tell she's the captain. And I think whoever's going to take over from her, which is probably looking likely to be Leah Williamson, when I reckon Kim Little will maybe leave in the next couple of seasons, which is really sad. That makes me emotional as well. But yeah, like the thought of her moving on, I feel like as much as there's leaders in the squad, just she leads with example on the pitch, but through her words, through what she does off the pitch, how she comes across in interviews, just her as a person, going to be a real big loss when that happens. But focusing on the Champions League and this campaign, her experience, I think we would have gone down about 3 or 4-1 in the home game, the first leg that I went to, because if we didn't have Kim Little on that pitch, because if you watched her physicality, Mariona Caldente was getting dragged out, you had other players getting dragged out, and it just felt like Kim Little was the only one sort of fighting off a few players by herself. And she's experienced, like I said, like she knows what to do. So I feel like for me, it's her, and I really, really want her to be lifting that trophy. I have said it last week, and I'm saying it again because Kim Little so deserves this trophy. Everything she's done with the club, like she so deserves it. So let's hope that can become a reality. Obviously, before I carry on waffling about that, let me actually get into the game, because this is, I think, one of my favourite games I've ever watched, because it's so unexpected. I mean, all the games this week were pretty much unexpected, but this was so unexpected for such a good reason. So let's get into that, and then sadly we're going to have to look at the drop in form later on the week. But let's focus on the positives first. Okay, so I feel like we've got a lot of games to get through. I mean, we've got 3, but I feel like these have been big games. We've obviously had the Women's Champions League at the start of the week, the Men's Champions League at the end of the week, and then the WSL last night. So let's crack on with the Lyon 1, Arsenal 4. I actually predicted it to be 3-1, which isn't even that far off what actually happened. We're through to the final, which actually, I just want to say this as many times as I can this episode, because it doesn't even feel real. Like, it's actually crazy. Like, genuinely crazy. But anyways, let's actually talk about the game and what happened. So, I mean, no one saw this coming, but suddenly, like, I was watching on TV, wish I was out there, but work and other commitments couldn't be done. But I was watching it on TV, and suddenly we scored. I mean, it was technically like an own goal. It kind of came off Lyon's keeper Endler, but it was basically down to all our pressure, like very high press, which was really good. But that went in, and then suddenly there was a part of me, and I was like, we're now 2-2 in aggregate. Could we do this? The second goal then happened, which arguably is the best goal. Mariona Caldente, basically, she collected the ball from outside the box, took a touch out of her body, shot, top bins. I was like, this has got to be the goal of the campaign. Like, honestly, mental from her. So good. And that's why, going back to the warm-up question at the start of this episode, I've definitely got to agree with you guys about Mariona Caldente, because she's a player that we definitely need, especially against Barcelona. Obviously, Barcelona are her former club. She's won the Champions League with them. She's got experience with them. And in terms of Barcelona, why they ended up thrashing Chelsea, to put it lightly, I don't know how else to put it, because it was 8-2 on aggregate. I think why that happened was because the two teams play so differently, because Chelsea bring more physicality, but I think that's English teams in general, whereas Barca bring that technicality. And obviously Chelsea have the technicality through certain players, certain individuals like Lauren James, but obviously she was injured. Whereas for us, Mariona Caldente is our technical player, so I know that she's going to be a massive help for us in that final, obviously against former teammates as well, going back to a former club. Like, there's pressure, but also she'll know the play and she'll be able to adapt to that. Obviously I can talk more about that game in a couple of weeks, because it's actually not even that far away. It's only like 3 weeks away. As you can tell by my voice, I'm like, it's so exciting. I could talk so quick about this. But going back to the game, yeah, fair play to her, honestly, smashed it. And at this point, I was then thinking, okay, we're now winning 3-2 in aggregate. Let's see how this goes. Russo got the first goal out of the break. To be honest, it was a bit of a messy build-up. I feel like Ford was on the floor, then Mornham sort of got the ball and, like, tapped it away, but then Russo basically just somehow got it under control. It looked like she had so much space as well. Like, she dominated the box and then just slotted it home basically across the goal. So, classic Russo goal, and that is what has taken her to be the highest English goal scorer in the Champions League. And then the last goal for Arsenal, which is crazy that there's another one, was Ford. And I feel like Ford is just showing up in every game. Like, not even just the Champions League, but WSL games. She shows up in these big games, and she always manages to find the net as well, which is really good. I feel like once the floodgates open for Arsenal, they're just goal after goal after goal, and I'm so here for it. Obviously, it would be kind of crazy if we got a clean sheet against Lyon. And I'm definitely not expecting that against Barcelona. But I'm just happy that obviously it didn't mean a lot this last goal, but Dormane did score in the 81st minute for Lyon. I kind of was shocked that it didn't happen sooner, because Dormane, Diani, I mean, there's so many ballers, I literally could mention the whole squad, but those two players in particular are so strong up top as well. And obviously Dormane's such a young player as well. I mean, I feel like I first heard about her at the World Cup when obviously she was representing Haiti, and she was so young then and such a promising talent that all eyes were on her, and rightfully so, because I mean, she got a goal in a Champions League, which is crazy. Obviously it was enough to, obviously luckily for us Gooners, it wasn't enough to secure them the win, but I think just her talent, she's so promising. But overall, it wasn't enough to stop us. We did win 5-3 on aggregate, and yeah, it was just such a good game. Also, actually, on that, just before I finish talking about that game, DVD, Daphne Van Domselaar, we need to give a big shout out to her. I'm so happy that she got to play in this game, because I feel like there's a bit of and ahs about whether she could or couldn't, because obviously she was injured for the first leg and people say it could trickle over, but luckily it didn't. And I do feel like without her, we might not be in the position we are in, basically, to put it nicely. So I'm very grateful for her for that. Moving on to the next game, which is still Champions League, but not quite the result we wanted. Arsenal 0, PSG 1. So this is in the Men's Champions League. I predicted us to win 2-1. Didn't quite work out, did it? Firstly, I went into work. I work at TalkSport, if no one's aware. I do morning shifts, so I went in straight after, like, I start work at like 4 a.m. So I was in there at 4 a.m. and obviously this loss has happened the night before. And the funny thing was that at work, people didn't even criticise the performance. I can't even criticise the performance. I think the only player that got criticised pretty much was Ødegaard, and I feel like some of it was partly deserved because he is our captain, and you had players like Rice who was showing up as more of a captain with the leadership qualities and showing how it's done basically on the pitch. So yeah, I guess I could agree with that. But as a whole, I'm not even disappointed in their performance. Like, I just feel like the main criticism for Arsenal was the fan base, and it's so hard to like fight back and defend myself and like, well, not even myself, just defend the whole fan base. But like some of the Arsenal fans, I'm like, oh, so annoying. Like, why do you have to be obnoxious like that or whatever? But I know you get that with every fan base. It's just annoying when the whole fan base is tainted by a small minority. I mean, to be fair, at this game though, I was watching it on TV. When Dembele scored, I was like, okay, good night. Let me just switch this off. No, I think I stayed until like the first half, and I was like, I'm gonna go to bed. But it did seem quiet, and that's basically all the criticism and comments. So I feel like if we're gonna get anything out of this second leg, we need to bring the noise. I mean, Arteta said bring your boots, and I feel like everyone left them at home, you know, it was that sort of vibe. But no, genuinely, I'm actually happy with the performance. If we focus on the performance as a whole, I do feel like Partey was actually missing. I think him as a player, he's a good player, but I don't feel like what he brings is necessarily better than other CDMs. But I think what he allows is Rice to be more free, because he comes into that CDM role, which pushes Rice further up the pitch. And obviously we've seen with Real Madrid how, because Rice was able to be pushed up the pitch, he was able to get those free kicks. He was able to get into positions to progress, and he acts alongside Ødegaard, which makes Ødegaard look good as well. And I feel like having Partey in there really helps the dynamic of the three in the midfield. So I'm hoping for the second leg, which will be next week. I won't talk about it on this episode, but I'll talk about it on Wednesday, just ahead of the game. I'm really hoping Partey will be back. So I'm hoping nearer the time, which is like just under a week away, we'll actually have a definite answer for that. But yeah, either way, I'm actually kind of happy with the performance. There's only one goal in it, and we literally just saw the women lose by one goal, and in the second leg ended up coming out 3-5 on aggregate. So I feel like we need to have a little bit more faith. Yes, you can criticise the fans a little bit because they're a little bit quiet. You can also criticise the tifo, because I don't know what that was. That just did not make us look great. But the performance on the pitch, you can't really criticise too much. I feel like everyone gave it their all. And PSG are a tough side. Like, we didn't think it was going to be easy. I've said it before, and I feel like lots of people have said it. Since Mbappe left, suddenly PSG have gone from strength to strength, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But they are a good side, so I feel like us losing 1-0 isn't the end of the world because we've got a second leg. So yes, if we end up coming out the second leg and it's a bigger score difference or whatever, then yeah, I'd be like, guys, let's criticise the players. But for the moment, I feel like everyone needs to just relax. It's all right. It's not too deep. The final game, I don't really want to talk about it too much. I don't want to dwell on it. But it happened last night. Aston Villa 5, Arsenal 2. How? Like, on a real, how do you go from getting through to the Champions League final to then losing 5-2 to a side that basically was up for relegation like a couple months back? Like, it actually makes no sense to me. I'm very confused. Obviously, after last night, in terms of the WSL as a whole, Chelsea have officially won and Crystal Palace have officially been relegated because Aston Villa have moved further up and Chelsea have just gone further up whilst Arsenal have stayed exactly where we are. We're kind of lucky that United actually lost that game because it meant that we're still in second spot, so that's obviously good for us. We just need to make sure we're very on it in the next few months. We just need to make sure we're really on it in the next couple of weeks because obviously we don't want to drop down to third. I feel like that would just be really humbling, especially when at one point there was a chance that, oh, we might actually be able to win the title. But I mean, it was unrealistic, and obviously it's proven to be that way. Overall, I just feel like Arsenal are messing with my emotions too much. Like, I feel like you guys need to relax. So I mean, like, at the start of the week, I was so happy, but like so shocked. And then end of the week, I was just as shocked, but like in a more confused way. Just, wait, is this actually happening? I mean, okay, firstly, obviously, okay, wait, let me say the goal scorers. So it was Jordan Nobbs, Hansen, Grant got 2, Daly got 1. They were all the Villa's goal scorers. The list is quite long. And then the 2 for Arsenal is Blackstenius and Russo. Bit random, but if anyone knows me and knows me like growing up and how I got into football and how I got into Arsenal, you'll know that Jordan Nobbs is one of the people that I aspired to be, I looked up to. She was a big role model for me when I was 10, and to be fair, still is now. Like, I feel like watching her career is very inspiring, despite her obviously not being at my club anymore. So seeing her score was quite bittersweet because I was happy for her because obviously she's one of my favourite players in the WSL. But then seeing her score against Arsenal, I was like, what is going on? At that point, I was like, oh, it's 1-0, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. And then suddenly, I was just refreshing my phone because I couldn't actually watch it because I didn't have Sky. But anyways, I was refreshing my phone and suddenly every, 2 minutes, I was like, what? There's a goal? Like... Hola, just me again. Sorry, that seemed a bit blunt, the end of that last section, because my camera just decided to turn off, which is really annoying, but to be fair, we don't want to dwell on that 5-2 loss anyways. All I'm basically saying is no matter what's happened, as long as we've got fit players to start for that final in a few weeks' time, then it's all good. And as long as we also don't lose our second spot in the league, because that'll be frustrating if we do. But anyways, moving on to the games, this week I'm basically going to do another pod. Hopefully I'm planning on doing it next Wednesday, which means it would be just ahead of the PSG game, so I can look ahead to that game and preview the second leg of the Men's Champions League semi-final then. So for now, we've only got 2 games to look at. We have Arsenal versus Bournemouth, which is on Saturday, and we have Brighton versus Arsenal, which is on Monday. So the Saturday game is the Premier League game. The Cherries have never actually beaten the Gunners away from home before, but obviously this is something that they'd definitely like to change, because I feel like it's not impossible for them to get European football. They've got to do something pretty crazy in their last few games, but it's not completely impossible. And I feel like until recently, they were definitely one of my favourite underdogs to get into that stage, but I feel like it's definitely got to the point where like Forest are able to sustain it, but I don't know if they will be able to. Obviously we need the points because we need to come second. I think this word and this phrasing of Arsenal always bottling it is uncalled for. I'm biting, but I feel like it definitely isn't relevant here unless we drop further and further down. I mean, obviously we're focused on the Champions League right now, but if that stays how it is and obviously we end up going out, then we need something to fall back on, and I feel like anything less than second, it was impossible for us to get first. Like Liverpool in such a run, especially around Christmas anyways, it was kind of maybe inevitable that they were the ones going to be leading the way. But I don't know, I'm just a bit gutted that basically on that, both the Premier League and WSL are basically already done. Well, they are already done. Like, you know basically who's relegated from both leagues, and you know who's won. I mean, Liverpool have already won the Premier League, Chelsea have already won the WSL, so it sort of leaves us in a position to be like, oh, Okay. But it's about now where we position ourselves ahead of next season. I mean, I do love it when it goes down to like the last day and you're like, oh, title race, like what's going to happen? I remember a few seasons back, WSL, it was between Chelsea and Arsenal, of course. Chelsea sadly came out on top, Arsenal playing West Ham, and then we ended up beating West Ham, and we thought it was enough, but then I can't remember who they were playing, but they were drawing, and then suddenly they just found a goal, and it was like, oh, frustrating. But congrats to Chelsea for their successive WSL title. Got to give credit where credit's due. Obviously frustrating for our Gooners, but there's next season. There is always next season. But yeah, overall, Arsenal Bournemouth game, I'm gonna predict, because this is just ahead. This is literally like a few days before the semi-final second leg. I feel like he's not gonna have his strongest team out. I feel like Arteta's kind of forgetting about the league as well at this point. He's just so focused on European football right now. So I'm gonna say it's probably gonna be like a 2-1 win to Arsenal. Well, I'm hoping, anyways. But I feel like it could be quite a close one because we're not going to go out guns blazing, basically. Because hopefully we're saving that for the Wednesday. Then moving on to Brighton versus Arsenal in the WSL. This is on Monday evening. It's the penultimate game for us in the WSL season, which is actually crazy that we've already reached this point. Obviously, as I've said before, we need this win. And it's basically because we lost against Villa last night, in case I didn't mention that. Frustratingly, we lost, which means that we're only 2 points ahead of United. United, I feel so bad for them. They have such a hard, challenging run for their last remaining games. They face City in the WSL. They've obviously just faced Chelsea in the WSL. They face City next. Then their last game is Arsenal, and then they face Chelsea again at the end of the month, or like in a couple of weeks' time, for the FA Cup final, which is just crazy for them. So they've got a tough month basically ahead of them, and we need to capitalise on that. So I'm hoping we can remain second, but we definitely need to get the points against Brighton. I mean, it's not going to be an easy fixture. I saw them a few months ago against Chelsea at home, and they ended up going 2-1 up at one point, ended up being a draw overall, and I feel like they're one of the only teams to take some points away from Chelsea this season. So, I mean, there's only 3 teams that have done it. So it's pretty good from them. I mean, they've got some key players at Brighton as well. They've got obviously Nikita Paris, Frank Kirby, who have been the latest additions that have been really propelling and helping the squad. I mean, the youngsters like Michelle Adjumang obviously is a Lioness, and also an Arsenal Leonie. And then Maisie Simmons, who is also featured in the Lioness squad recently too. She plays for Brighton, so I feel like they do have a lot of young talent in there, especially. So I'm going to say this is going to be a close one as well. I do feel like there's going to be some goals because there's goal scorers on both sides. So I'm going to say a 3-2 win because we need this momentum. I mean, we're not prepping for a Champions League for another few weeks, if that makes sense. So we can definitely make sure we get these points. So yeah, going to be 2 close games I'm predicting, but as always, my delusional head is predicting 2 wins. So we're going to see what happens. Okay, that is the end of this episode. I feel like I tried to go into as much detail as I could, but obviously there was a lot of games to cover, a lot of action, ups and downs across the whole week. I'm hoping next week is a bit more stable. We do have a lot of fixtures coming up, but obviously just focusing on the 2 that I spoke about, I'm hoping they go the way I want. Close fixtures, tense fixtures, but also winning outcomes for us. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this episode. If you did like it, please make sure you give me a thumbs up. Comment down who you think, in answer to the warm-up question, who you think is who basically has helped us get to this stage in the competition. I still can't believe Arsenal through to the final. That is the last time I'll say it on this episode, but yeah, I'm just very happy about that. And yeah, I'm hoping it's a good week ahead. But if you want to stick around, see my predictions for next week, see my reaction to whatever the outcome is for this week's games, then make sure you subscribe. Also, if you're listening on Spotify, please follow me over there and give me a review, 5-star review preferably, but it's whatever view, I'll let you be honest. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll be back on Wednesday. See you then.